Hey, everybody. Thank you very, very much for joining us for our first webinar, our first Facebook Live broadcast of 2018. Here is the latest, most important, and the greatest breaking news. So I want to make sure that all the sellers out there, as the year progresses, that you turn to us, Rosenbaum, the law firm behind AmazonSellersLawyer.com, that you come to us for your Amazon news. Okay. First thing, and this is really odd, we saw this in the last week of last year, the last couple of days, Amazon with vendor accounts are actually sending inauthentic complaints to sellers selling to Amazon through their vendor account when either Amazon has an issue or customers are complaining. So you think you're safe from inauthentics when it's a vendor account? You no longer are safe. You're subject to these things just like every other seller. So what do? If you have a vendor account and you get an inauthentic, one, you got to draft a plan of action. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit more concise, and it's going for another purpose. You have to send in the information about your sourcing. Now, it's not necessarily going to be invoices like a regular seller account getting an authentic, but you're going to have to show Amazon where you're sourcing your products to then sell to Amazon. So even though you're not the seller, you're still getting inauthentic complaints and inauthentic suspensions, and you're going to send them to vendor services. So we write non-legal plans of action every day, all day long. Our team of 15 people here in New York write these things for you, and they have nothing to do with the law. We do really great jobs, and we win where our success rate is super high. But if you are a vendor and you get an inauthentic suspension or an inauthentic notice, give us a call. We'll walk you through it. We can handle it for you. Okay, now on the legal side, because half of our business has to do with the law, and half of it is just writing plans of action for sellers. We charge the same amount that the non-lawyer consultants charge you, only we have a team all here in our Long Beach, New York office, all college-educated Americans writing your plans of action. You don't have to go to a consultant who works out of a P.O. box to write your plan of action. You can use us. You can use a law firm for the same cost. Okay, so intellectual property complaints are resulting in fewer and fewer and fewer suspensions. Now, we know a lot of you are still getting suspended and still losing ASINs because of baseless intellectual property complaints, but more and more, and this is great for sellers, that you're not actually being suspended. You should still work, you should still hire us if you want to get those complaints withdrawn, but we're seeing fewer and fewer complaints that are resulting in the loss of the ASIN and certainly less suspensions. We still strive to get those complaints withdrawn, but what we're seeing is more of on the other side saying, well, if you're making a complaint against the seller, contact the seller directly and work it out with them. We see these all the time when you receive complaints, but for our private label clients, when they make the complaint, some of these are coming back. So this is really great news for sellers. You're not getting suspended anywhere nearly as often as you were for baseless IP complaints. And we hope for the sellers that we fight for every day that this is going to be a trend that's going to continue, that there'll be fewer and fewer suspensions so that you have more time to negotiate and withdraw those IP complaints. Now, also, for those sellers or those people who are acting as sort of brand managers and policing brands, you have to stop making scattershot complaints, because we're now seeing that if you're making dozens and dozens of complaints against sellers, your account is at risk. And Amazon's writing back to you, just like they used to do in the days when people were making cases, case after case after case when Amazon lost inventory, or you were claiming that they were charging you too much for boxing and shipping, and it was scattershot. We're seeing the same thing coming up now in IP complaints. So if you're a private label or you have distribution agreements for certain brands, don't make bullshit complaints. Okay, only make complaints that are valid, and we always suggest you contact the seller first and try and work it out amicably. But if you're making tons and tons of complaints, you are putting your own account at risk. And on the flip side, as a seller, if you are selling health and beauty items and you start receiving a ton of BS complaints, contact the complainant and say, hey, you know what? You're at risk too. We know people like you are getting suspended to trying to knock us off, and let them know that you're going to help that happen. So stand up for yourself. Standing up for sellers is what we do. And if you are making dozens of complaints, stop. And if you're receiving baseless complaints, use this to your advantage to get rid of those complaints, get them withdrawn, because those companies making those complaints are putting their own accounts at risk. Okay, IP suspension. This is more great news for sellers. Now, often brands will make complaints against a seller, and the seller will follow Amazon's instruction and reach out to that brand and try and get them to withdraw the complaint. And those brands just blow you off, okay? Other brands will actually send an email basically saying, screw you, we're not withdrawing. What we started to do is we're using those emails, we're using this schedule of how many times they blew you off, or how many times they blew us off, and we're writing to notice dispute with a plan of action type writing. And we're getting sellers right back on that Amazon is not taking this silence approach from brands, and they're not taking this nonsense of the brand just saying, screw you, we're not going to withdraw the complaint. The complaint's baseless, we can get you back on, we can get your ASIN back on. So this is really great news going into Q1, and we hope it's a trend. We hope Amazon continues at least this current trend, even though it's really short term so far, because we know we got Amazon's up here, the brands here, and the sellers usually, and Amazon's eyes are like, somewhere close to the ground. But for the last week or so and going strong into January 2018, Amazon has been better with sellers than we have seen in a long time or ever, okay? So sellers stand strong. All of a sudden your leverage is increasing against these brands and people making these baseless complaints. Okay, now for sellers who are applying to sell certain brands, you need to be super careful as to what you are submitting, okay? What we have seen more than once now is that a seller is applying for ability to sell a certain brand, they're submitting documents and invoices, they're getting approval, and then a couple of weeks later, they're getting a suspension, as if there's multiple layers of review in Amazon, and you're losing your accounts, you're going down. We're able to get you back on, but you need to try to avoid the suspension. It's still the name of the game, is staying in business. So be careful what you submit. Now, we have learned more about what Amazon looks for when you submit any type of document by representing dozens of sellers in arbitrations against Amazon. No one else that I'm aware of has had the ability to cross-examine Amazon's employees as to how they look at documents. And we use this information to help sellers every single day. So if you want to call and get some advice as to what you should and should not submit to Amazon, give us a call. I'm happy to talk to sellers. Call us, email us, WeChat, Facebook, however you reach out to us, call us, we'll help you, we'll pay it forward and give you information. Okay, another issue of breaking news, Philips trade dress complaints. If you are selling the bristles that go into the electric toothbrushes, replacement parts, and Philips has made a complaint against you that you're violating their trade dress, give us a call. We rarely talk about success rates, but practically never. But so far, we're batting 1,000. We have had 100% success in beating Philips trade dress complaints against sellers. We help sellers against small companies. We help sellers against major companies. We help sellers. So if you receive one of these Philips trade dress complaints, give us a call and we'll help you do it. Now, on the flip side of this, if you are a private label seller, okay, you might want to use this information to help you. As a private label seller, you may want to start thinking about applying for trade dress. Now, what is trade dress? Trade dress are all the different things that make your product look and feel and appear unique, from the packaging to the color to the labeling to the shape, okay? And you can apply for trade dress registration. There's no set time frame as to how long you need to have been using your trade dress, but you have to develop what's called secondary meaning to be successful. Okay, but it's something private label sellers may want to start considering, filing for protection for trade dress. Okay, now the pre-suspension plans of action. Okay, this is the last bit of the breaking news for today. Pre-suspension plans of action. This was written about by one of the other thought leaders. We're starting to see more and more of them. If you get a notice from Amazon that they want a plan of action from you and you haven't lost the ASIN and you haven't lost your account, hire us or do it yourself. Just don't buy the forms, okay? If you see something for $2.99, $3.99, it's better to do it yourself. Don't use the forms. But you want to come up with a really great, persuasive pre-suspension plan of action And in response, Amazon is giving back really specific information as to what they're looking to see or why they're not going to suspend you. So pre-suspension plans of action are vital. It's so much better to address things before you get suspended. It is so much better to avoid suspensions. So that is the breaking news going into the first day of Q1. If anyone has any issues, any concerns, any questions, you need help. If you're thinking about hiring someone to help you with plan of action, we do the best job on the planet. We are the only company that is writing plans of action for sellers that has a team of college educated Americans working all together in the same place, conferencing every plan of action before it goes out the door, so we can figure out what is going to be the most effective plan of action for you. If you are hiring anybody else to do your plan of action, you're not getting the benefit of cumulative knowledge and cumulative experience. Now, I'm not one to bash anybody online, but look to where they work out of. Look to see whether they have a real office. Look to see if they have a plant, if they have a post office box in a UPS store, okay? If you hire Rosenbaum Familaro, if you go through Amazon Sellers Lawyer.com, you are hiring an entire team of people to work on your account and to get you reinstated. Last but not least are the upcoming events for Amazon sellers, where you will learn how to sell better, learn how to sell more efficiently, learn how to make money. In March, you have Just One Dime in Las Vegas, and also the Prosper Show, probably the #1 show for advanced sellers. Both are in Vegas, both are in March. They're both fantastic events, and I hope you join me there. I'm speaking at both of them, and please attend. You will learn and you will be inspired. We also have Retail Global in Australia in May. If you're going to the Australian market, huge English-speaking market for you to get into. If you are sourcing in China or you just want to hear speakers that you can't hear domestically, then Global Sources in Hong Kong in April is probably the #1 international event. It's really easy to get to. It's a bit of a long flight, but Hong Kong is a fantastic place to see. There's also a huge sourcing right there in the same building. It's all connected with the airport. Then you cross the border into mainland China, and it's a really great place to see, and fantastic, fantastic event. So that is the latest and the greatest. That's the breaking news. And I wish you all the best in the new year. And keep tuning in. We're going to do these webinars. I'm going to try to shoot for them at least every other day or so. And watch for our webinar Wednesdays, where we also have someone from another area, another service for Amazon sellers. And thank you very much for joining us today.